All right, welcome everybody. We're going to do a roll call to order. I think we got all the members present. I don't think anybody's missing. We got a new member. So we got Karen. Is it Ma?
It's Ma.
Ma? You want to introduce yourself?
I could if you'd like me to.
Sure.
Okay. I'm Karen Mao. I am a Manistee native. Graduated in '89 along with my husband from Manistee High, and now after 30 years basically in the military, my husband's side, me following, we are back and hoping to be active members of the community. So
Great.
here I am.
Welcome,
Yeah, welcome.
Yo.
Seriously, yeah.
and thank you.
We have already assigned you different jobs, so just to be aware. No, we welcome you to the commission, so your presence is well needed. So we have the approval of the agenda. Everybody have the agenda in front of them?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We got a second?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. We have any public hearing? Citizen public comments. Brandon was going to attend, but now it looks like he's been rescheduled till January. So January he'll make his presentation. Have the approval of the minutes from November 19th, 2021 that are in front of you guys. If you want to take a minute to just kind of look over those quickly, see if anybody has any comments. Have a motion to approve?
Yeah, so moved.
Second?
A second.
All right, Kelly? All right, very good. Correspondence, I think we, if I remember in some of my correspondence, we did receive something from the, and I apologize for not bringing it, for the First Street Beach, the individual that's been in charge of that as far as the cleanup of that. Linda, was it? No, it was
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Jen Teller.
Yeah, so I did get an email, but I honestly didn't have a chance to read that. I think she was just giving her update as far as what they've done over there. So that's the only correspondence I've received so far. So
And a little bit of what you should do in the future
what's that?
Suggestions?
with Morton Park and so forth.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Committee reports? Anybody? I don't think the only committee reports, I mean, the things we've been working on in the committee is which goes into the, honestly, is part of the old business system, the reservation system that we've been working on. I attended the city council meeting. We had a work session last week, Tuesday, and it was actually a pretty productive work session. So I think, we did not bring that proposal?
Yeah, this packet that you have, you can throw it away.
Okay.
This one?
Yeah, I asked Kathy to copy the proposed rules in the sign-up sheet. She mistook and copied this one for you, so
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find a way to access it through the computer, and not having much luck, but I'll keep trying.
So I had an opportunity. I've been working with Bill, our city manager, with Jeff, and also Ed. And we came up with a proposal for the city during the work session last week, Tuesday. I'll see if I can pull it up too, because I had it on the computer. But overall, I think that they were pretty accepting, but we have to go over this proposal, obviously, before it. A work session is basically to discuss, maybe add, maybe delete, have conversation about it. And when I attended the city council meeting on Tuesday, I got the feeling, and we've got the mayor here too, that the general consensus was that everybody was supporting it, but some of the biggest issues were the rate fees that were being proposed. So I just want to make sure when we go back and present this as a final copy to the city council, that we're all in agreement as far as what the rate should be. So when I talked with Bill, Jeff and Ed kind of took what's basically being done out there right now, but I see if I can pull it up in front of me, but I want to kind of go over what the rate proposals were.
The mayor gave me her copy of the draft. Do
Okay.
you want me to just walk through that? And I
Yeah.
apologize, I meant to have copies for everybody.
Yep,
So this would be specific for the Lions Pavilion, and as the Parks Commission has talked in the past, could be expanded beyond that, but start with one. And the first time we talked about it at City Council, they also agreed, let's start with baby steps, try one, get it right, and then if it needs to be expanded beyond that. The reservation system would, and I'm just gonna walk through this document, would basically be handled through the clerk's office at City Hall. And then there's some discussion that maybe the Public Works secretary could also do that. But we've got basically a spreadsheet that we keep for renting out the marina facility. We would just kind of create another separate calendar for the Lions Pavilion. Manistee residents would have a opportunity to rent the pavilion between January 1st and March 31st before out of city residents or out of city people could rent it. So there's the first 3 months of the year exclusively for the city of Manistee residents, and then beginning April 1st anybody can rent as things are available. The fees that we're well, two things. Number one, the discussion has been to rent it on either a half day, so say from 9 a.m. from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., or the second would be from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., or you can rent it for a full day or multiple days. The fees that we put out there to the city council were to separate a residential rate or a resident rate and a non-resident rate. The resident rate would be $50 for a half day or $100 for a full day. And the non-resident rate would be $75 for a half day, $150 for a full day. And I think that's where Tim was at when we started discussing this. Now, when we looked at several other communities that do these rental rates, $150 was about the very lowest that anybody rented out of space. And we have that kind of as our highest rate right now. The other items are they'd be responsible for any damage or losses to the facility. The rules regarding the usage would mirror the parks rules. And when we looked at the parks rules that haven't been really adjusted in quite a few years, we decided that this would be a good opportunity for the parks to review those rules and then make some adjustments. But those parks rules would follow to this. If you have a private event, there's no insurance required. But if you have a public event where you're serving alcohol, then we've included insurance requirements, and we've made those consistent with other rentals that the city has. If there's a sale of alcohol, you would be required to get a license from the Liquor Control Commission and furnish the city with that. Prior to the event, if somebody wanted to add a tent or a big blow-up structure or really anything else other than what's provided, they would need to call the Public Works so Mickey or somebody else can review what's being requested. We do have some underground power out there, so we don't want people just pounding stakes in the ground anywhere and causing that damage. We would not allow parking of vehicles on the grass at all, but we would allow up to 2 vehicles to drive up to the pavilion to unload and load, and clean up. But we don't want it to be a parking lot in there like some groups already try to do. During the event, again, all park rules must be adhered to. We ask them to report any problems, concerns with equipment. We would request that the renters place all their refuse in the provided garbage cans. And if a garbage can is full, that they put it in the dumpster enclosure that's right next door to it. And then, I'm not sure if we still do we still put empty bags on the bottoms of those?
Anytime there's an event,
Yeah.
you normally know whether there's something.
So when we do events and people ask for garbage cans to be put out, we put out cans, but we put extra bags in the bottom, so if they pull that out, there's a bag right there. We would just do that on a daily basis at the Lions Pavilion. What else here?
I think that honestly covered most of what was talked about.
It really does, yeah. After the event, it's basically pick up after yourself. And then, yeah, there's also, it would be a non-refundable, so we're not guaranteeing pretty weather. Some of the key things, and Tim, you can add to this, that we talked about were the council had suggested maybe we look at a deposit, but unfortunately, we don't have park staff or any DPW staff that works 7 days a week and at the time of the switchover, so at 11 p.m., at 4 when people might leave. So it'd be tough for us to verify how they left it and whether or not they would be eligible to get their deposit back. So we kind of took that away. I think it was Tim that made the point, we should charge something so that people, if it was free, then Liz could reserve the whole month and then have a party whenever she wanted, whether she was there or not, just as an example. When you put down the money, you're committed, you've got some skin in the game, and you also are responsible for it. So, Mayor, were there other items other than the rental rates that were of concern? I know there was concern from the Lions.
Logistics, I'll talk about.
He's one of the council members, and he had some concerns with the fact that the Lions Club built the pavilion, and they gave it to the city, and he seemed to have some concerns that they would be upset that we were charging residents. My counter argument to that was that anytime you make a reservation, whether you put money down on it or not, you're taking away the public's right to be exclusive for that particular time frame. So I didn't particularly see any difference between making a reservation without putting any money into it, or making a reservation that had money into it. And I realize the city staff is going to, and the DPW will have a little bit extra duties attached to making sure the area is cleaned up. And to me, looking at rates from downstate and other areas, I personally am only 1 out of 7 of those. Some of the rates were very reasonable. But he wanted to go back and talk to the Lions about it, even though the budget turned over to the city to manage. So that's one thing. Anything else, Jeff?
I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, Google Laney.
Okay. I think it sounds like a good plan, thoughtful and considerate. I like it. One question I have is, it started out, you were looking at software. Has that now gone by the wayside, at least through this testing process, to see how it works?
Well, we found out that the city already has a system.
Oh,
You know,
so
their outlook.
even better.
So my vision is for you to be able to go on the city's website and put the information in and run it without a staff person having to work you through that. But that requires a software package that we do not have. What we're proposing to begin with is to have a staff person, you call City Hall, you talk to Laura, she sends you the paperwork and goes through it. She can put it in the calendar as a tentative. And then when we receive the written agreement and the pay, then it gets changed. I'm proposing to purchase a case, a sign case like we put at the tennis courts. So it's got a glass enclosure, and then on a weekly basis, our staff can go down and print that schedule out. And we would have a sign that says, call City Hall to verify this is, may not be the most up-to-date kind of thing. but we can post that, so when I show up with a picnic basket, oh crap, somebody's gonna be here at 5. You know, at least I have that heads up kind of thing. So it's very low cost of entry to do this. The other big thing that was brought up by council was, where does this revenue go? Tim said, well, geez, it'd be really nice to reinvest into the parks with the revenues. But that still has to be decided by council also.
But I think that was one of our justifications for charging was, because there's other things we obviously can do with the Lions Pavilion. We talked about canopy, you know, the windows, you know, making it a little bit more user-friendly for inclement weather, but all that costs money. So all the funds that are generated from that could actually hopefully, you know, be kind of like directed towards that. So, you know, the reason we started talking about the reservation system is because of the archaic board that is currently at the Lions Pavilion, where people just put a thumbtack up with their request to reserve that particular space, and there's no guarantee that that piece of paper would stay up there, and then someone could actually tear one down and put another one up and ruin someone's plans. And
Well, and by ordinance, that's not a reservation.
right, exactly.
That's simply a way of people telling other people, I intend to be here on this day and this time.
Yeah, and I understood, I mean, it was beneficial for me to be here for the work session to understand where some of the council members were coming from too. And I understand that the Lions Pavilion was built, you know, with donated funds, but the property is the Manistee. It's not the Lions Club. You know, they have the name because of what they did and what they donated, but we're still responsible for the upkeep of it. You know, and I would think going forward, if something needed to be painted or something needed to be done, we could still seek volunteers to make that happen. We're still responsible for that. So and I also know too, along this lake shore, very seldom can we find a place that you can just actually use for free. You know, so, and it honestly would give people the reassurance that they reserved it, it's theirs. You know, and we can do weddings and we can do birthdays and we can do parties and graduation. Right now, I think people are hesitant to do that because there's no security in that feeling. What I got from the council meeting is the fee charged. You know, we're asking the Manistee residents who used to pay nothing now to have to pay something. You know, and then some of the council members they thought that the fee was being charged was pretty minimal, to be quite honest with you. You know, compared to what other places and what other facilities we're going to be charging, and I would tend to agree with that. So are we going to get a little bit of flack from that? I'm sure we will. You know, anytime you start charging people, I think there's going to be some type of resistance to that, but we're still pretty minimal. And even that is negotiable. I mean, you got to keep in mind, it was a work session, nothing's been finalized yet. That's what we're going to recommend, you know, to the city council for their next meeting when we're finally done with the proposal. So I mean, and I have it on my computer. Gladly email it to you guys tonight so you can look at it, so we can come back and we can do the final proposal before the city council and what we all agree on. But what are your comments? I'm just interested in what your feelings are about the fees that are being proposed.
I think the fees are fair, but I think you made a very good point. I would put it into a capital fund, not that we're using it to clean up after the events, because that hasn't changed since it was not charged. But like what you said, I mean, those little, in the Lions Pavilion, kind of can go into those little, what do you call them? Overlays.
Cabanas?
The cabanas. But those need, like painting, they need some repairs. Some of those picnic tables are in disrepair. So I thought if we could keep the money separate and then really just go back and use it for capital improvements or, you know, maintenance, but not routine maintenance, like improvements, I guess would be.
Yeah.
See, I had an idea, I don't know, a month or two ago, I brought back to you some, you know, just draft numbers on how many garbage cans we have, how many picnic tables we have, and, you know, the commission had expressed this desire, why are we using 55-gallon drums? Can't we get something better? Well, at $800 a pop, and when we have 84,
83 or 86.
yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And the new ones would be smaller, so the number I put out there was probably you'd have to purchase 120 to go park-wise. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. But maybe this money could be put in a fund to purchase those, and when we have enough for the Lions Pavilion, that's the first place we put them. And then we just take section by section, and maybe that's a way that the fees that are generated are put back in and reinvested, you know?
But we would need to get the reassurance from the city council that that's what their intentions are then.
Absolutely.
So we'll obviously propose that. That's what we'd like to see the money being generated going towards, is just improvements of the parks in those
Or
particular.
just that particular part.
Yeah.
And I think it's strong if it's in this document, so when people read it, you know, oh, well, that fee's fair and it's getting reinvested. That makes me feel better about renting something.
Well, hopefully too, is my plan is to obviously involve the Manistee advocate in it and letting them know what our intentions are as a Parks Commission, that the reason why these fees are being collected is just for future updates of the Lions Pavilions and other park stuff, just like what you just had talked about. So, anybody have any comment? Yeah, Mayor?
Can I just interject on the fees?
Yeah.
I mean, if you really take a chance, have a chance to look at these fees, you might not have the paperwork in front of you. The fee for a full day, that is considered 14 hours, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. For the residents, that breaks down to only $7.14 an hour. If they rent for half a day, it's 7 hours, it's still $7.14 an hour. If you're a non-resident of the city of Manistee, it's only $10.71 an hour. You know, whether it's a full day or, you know, at 14 hours or a half day at 7 hours. I think those numbers are pretty good. I don't know where else you could rent something like that. So that was my position on it, just so.
Yeah.
I think,
And there's plenty of other facilities. If you don't want to pay,
Yeah.
you can go to any of the other facilities the city has on a first come, first served basis.
For now.
I think that our youth project, I think they charge $75 an hour. A friend just had a kid's birthday party there, and she said, I about died. And you couldn't get in there beforehand. She said, I mean, it was like $500 for the amount of time she used that party. She says, I was just dumbfounded. So that is low for me, for the use, I believe.
Tim, do you want a motion that, figure what the board, this commission does support the idea of fees?
Yes, I think that's what we're looking for, because that, I think, was one of the issues before the city council. And I think if we're going to go forward with our proposal, that we need to be on a united front on that. And we make a motion to support the rate proposed. But before we do that though, Tom, you want to comment on that? Because you had some valuable input on that. One of the reasons you're here.
Yeah, so Tom O'Leary, former member of the Parks Commission, former park ranger down in Mason County too, for many years, and we kind of went through this process for the past decade before you guys are starting to do this, so I thought maybe my insight about what we went through would help you guys out. So I joined Tim during the work session at the city council meeting on Tuesday, and read through this and listened to what everyone had to say. There's a couple things that Jeff and the city manager and Tim came up with that we ran into roadblocks with in the past that maybe I can help you out with. One of the things I noticed here, the fee structure, where you're talking about renting a full day or a half day. We started with doing that too, where we offered a half day or a full day, but the problem when you start doing the half days is you got alcohol involved. So those people at the first half possibly aren't going to get out of there in time for the people on the second half. You're kind of setting yourself up for some issues renting half days. So we end up going with just renting the full day. If the people only use it for half the day, then they do, but they have that full day blocked off, and it doesn't create that conflict of interest during that changeover time. Because that changeover time with alcohol involved is when you're starting to get law enforcement involved and just nasty, nasty things. So we have adopted that way off of our rental structure with the Mason County camper. So suggestion would be just to do a full day period. The other thing I heard the city council talk about that you guys mentioned was the deposit. I believe during the city council, Mr. Bradford was talking about how it might create like a slowdown somehow in the city.
Well, if it's going to cost staff,
Extra time, yeah. But it really does, it's a small thing. That deposit is a huge thing. There was talk of just doing one large fee. But we end up breaking ours down into a smaller fee, with, $50 to rent out a 200-person pavilion, a $50 deposit. And even though that deposit isn't necessarily going to be enforced by having like DPW come after the event, it's a psychological thing for the people renting they know they have money on the line, they're more likely to clean that place up after. So making sure there is a deposit from the renters is almost vital. It's a big part of how we rent out our building. And there's something else here too. I think that was it. I think everything looks really good, but feel free to ask questions. Like I said, we went through this for a decade and kind of right in that perfect spot now where we rent our pavilion for $50 a day, $50 deposit. They get their deposit back in 2 to 3 weeks from the city itself.
Yeah, there was some resistance with the deposit, more from Ed and I think with Laura. The logistics of getting the money in, sitting there, getting it back out. There was one city council member liked the idea of a deposit, but everybody else seemed to be okay with just the rental fee, for the entire day. And Tom brought up the subject, do we do full days, do we do half days? Personally, in my opinion, I understand the failures of what they've had, but I would still like to go forward with given the option of the full day or half day. Because I can see where someone wants to do a graduation party, but they'll be done by 3, but they're still reserved till 10, at night. I just think splitting it up gives people more of an option, to be quite honest with you. I understand what he's saying, but I think going forward, would like to try it. Because we can always change it, and that's the nice thing is this is a pilot program, and this is a thing that maybe we're going to do for Fifth Avenue Beach, maybe we're going to do for the band shelter, other locations around Manistee that people can reserve, and rent. So I think the motion would be, well, I think we have 2. Are we going to go ahead with the half day, full day, or do we want to do a full day? And then I think the other motion would be obviously about the rate and whether to accept the rate that's been proposed. So, do you not agree?
Was there a reservation fee?
A what?
A reservation fee to hold it?
Well, so let's say I want to reserve it for a day and I pay my $150. That's a non-refundable fee.
Oh, okay. All right.
Basically, because, right?
If you're a non-resident, it's 150.
Yeah, but if
A
you're a
resident would be
100.
100.
Yeah, it's non-refundable. So when you put that deposit down, Mayor, we talked about 48, 24 hours. What was that again? I'm sorry.
That was my concern, that they should have their contract and then their money into the city, either 48 hours or 72 hours.
After they made their reservation.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they need to sign this contract.
Okay, right.
So they understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Most draft of the contract.
Which should be more than reasonable.
So, and I think that's reasonable. Anybody who's planning a graduation party knows ahead of time how many people are coming, et cetera, and whether they have to cancel or not. So I think that's a reasonable heads up because the times that it's not reserved is open to the general public. So that they can go in there, they can look at this blasting case and has a schedule up there and go, hey, wow, we can do a barbecue right now, or later on this afternoon or whatever. I think that still needs to be an option for the general population.
I think there has to be a deposit though, because otherwise you'd say, I'm not sure when I'm gonna have my graduation. So if you can just reserve it without that, whether it's deposit or the full fee, you don't want someone going in, a city resident, saying, well, I'm gonna have it sometime in June, but I'm not sure, so they
No,
reserve 3
right.
dates. So I think you do have to have the money with reservation.
I would think so too.
Yeah, the way that Ed described it and the way that the current rentals that the city has, because we conferred with Laura Lorraine, who manages that portion for the city, you are put in this, when you request August 1st, you are put on that schedule as a tentative, but somebody else could request and be put on as a tentative also, and both parties will be made aware that somebody else is looking for that same day. So the first one has to get their contract and their money to the city within the time frame that's established, or they can lose it. Because we don't want to get in arguments, fights, where 2 people are trying to tie it up, and so she made the suggestions on how the time frames and how that system should run.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I know I'm new here, but is there a problem with just, is this an online reservation, or is this something they have to go to an office to fill out the contract and?
So it's not online yet. So the beginning of this would not be online. So if you wanted to reserve it, you would have to contact City Hall during the week, and then they can email or mail you the form. There may be something, we may be able to put something on the website where you can download the form and send it in.
Delay at all when you reserve the pavilion? Can't you just pay immediately? Like,
You can if you do,
I'm making the
if you do
decision
in
to rent
person
it.
or by credit card, you can, yes.
Pay immediately, and then you don't have that conflict.
Like, do we have to buy the program to get it online, or why are we not going right online with
Because
this?
we don't have that program,
How much is that? Is that a big deal? Or
I don't know.
I think what we're doing,
someone write it?
well, I think what we're doing honestly is we're just trying to get the system rolling.
Okay.
And then we're gonna modify it as we continue to go along. So the main purpose is just to get the system up and running. And then I'm sure 2 years from now, it's gonna be a little bit different than what we first started with. So they don't have that yet, but I think that's a strong possibility in the future. And maybe the funds that are generated from what we do, honestly, could be directed towards that.
Is
And
it-
and
is
part
the
of the,
soft-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Is the software expensive?
I don't know.
So, is it, Tom?
It depends on what you use. You try to leverage you could leverage right now the city's actual calendar and duplicate that. When you go online and look at Manistee City calendar, it shows like all the city council meetings and everything. Someone could duplicate that and use that as a reservation system. So I think the infrastructure is already there. You would just need a developer to develop an extra tab per se within the software the city already owns. That's for me, not exactly knowing what's at city in the city infrastructure, but you can see it as a public viewer. If you were to get a reservation system software that was by itself, yes, that can be quite expensive.
So I had Ed look into that, and he said that our current website does not have the capability.
Doesn't have the capability.
So we would have to buy a standalone software
Yeah.
package.
Or get a developer to do that with what the city has.
So also part of the discussion is this is the perfect time of year to implement this, right? Because we can start with a brand new year, a brand new season. So we want to try to keep it simple, and just like Tim said, roll it out the first of the year and go through the season. And I mean, we may have to make on the fly adjustments, but then you reevaluate it, and then next year take the steps as we grow up with it. you
I
know?
mean, would the cost of the staff offset what it would cost for the software? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know what the software cost is, so I don't know.
I mean, it'd be nice to have the software. It's kind of like
Yeah,
an
like-
Airbnb.
yeah.
You're looking at it, and you're trying to decide, what day is best for our wedding or our graduation or whatever we're
To be able to
planning.
look at it.
Everything.
And you just look at it and you say, in the morning, there's something that was for our wedding at 5 o'clock. We get married at 4 in the church, but you'd have to reserve it all day, but we can't because it's reserved in the morning. It's kind of good to be able to look at that calendar. Just like an Airbnb, you look at what dates are checked off and what's full. It's kind of nice.
There is a reservation software, so we're dealing with reservation software changing over at Mason County as well right now. And there is an older company that's been out for about 5 or 6 years that created reservation software programming for themselves and just started to publicize it for smaller venues and cities. And what they do is they host the software, so all the servers are at their place. You just send them $1 per reservation. That is basically the fee you're paying. So you don't even need software developers in the city. You don't need people to set it up. You actually work with them. They don't charge you an installation fee. They don't charge you a setup fee. They just are asking for a small percentage of every reservation you make. So on a $100 reservation, I believe they take $3 per reservation. So there's that way to do it too. And you just end up linking that link to their servers on the city website. Something super simple.
I mean, having to call in and send your check, it just seems archaic, like, can't we
does seem
start it
archaic.
off?
Yeah, but
Especially since it's not manned 24 hours.
yeah, I think what we're losing in perspective is
Right.
that this is just to get the system rolling. what you guys are
At
proposing.
the start of the year.
Yeah, I think.
We're on a timeline if we really want to implement it.
Right, and I think what you're talking about is what we want to do long-term. You know, so we get it up and rolling, at least get the reservation system working. It might not be as effective as what we'd like it to be, but that's what we're going to be changing during time. You know, so we as a commission can start looking at those type of things like what Tom's talking about and putting it all together.
Because there's no doubt that that is the end result we want, is this
But we've never
online, even Jeff said it. So that's the vision.
But we never reach that end result. Sometimes we have a tendency to not reach that. Like the marina is still done that way. The Ramsdale is still done that way. I think we gotta, I might say roll it out, but then I think I would be in favor of saying in 3 months we want to have it, or set a tangible goal. Because otherwise it will be like our other reservations in the city, maybe not happen. And I think that puts us behind the 8 ball again.
So what I'm hearing from you guys is that you would rather have it done right
The
to
first
begin
time.
with in the first place
Yeah.
versus bandaging it as we continue
Yeah.
on.
Like we do everything else.
Yeah, and we say it's temporary, but temporary doesn't always mean temporary.
When would you say, given history, Jeff, do you have any idea when this really would need to be put in place for it to start to be effective? I mean, I'm not sure when people start putting their thumbtacks and their notes up on the board. I mean, are they doing it now? Like,
Good
I
question.
doubt it.
yeah.
Good question.
But
Well, was more-
do you think we have 2 to 3 months to work that out, or do you think that's even a possibility to get? Because the city would have to buy into the reservation system, right? That software.
Well, I think you can, realistically, I think you can start it anytime, but when you do it mid-season, then you're gonna get conflicts and people are gonna get confused. I was here last weekend, the system wasn't here, now it's here. So that's an issue. Also, we've created a benefit to the residents of January, February, March of having first dibs. And if we eat into that, they have less chance for that. But I'd hate to wait a whole nother year too. You know, I think realistically, people probably start putting their tax up April, May.
They're up right now, I was just there. They're up for 2022.
I mean, this is
People who had that
2021.
reservation system.
Just there.
What about what Thomas was talking about, where you
And-
pay him $1 per reservation?
Maybe that's what we,
That's what we'd have to look into.
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
You have the committee, maybe that's what needs to happen.
Well, I think we got a couple of issues here, to be honest with you. Number one, we don't have the proposal in front of you all. And I think sometimes it's hard to make that decision without looking at the full document. So and we can do this, is that maybe we should meet in 2 weeks, you know, after January, before, you know, we can do a special session just to kind of go over this and go over in a little bit more detail. Because I think everybody's bringing up legitimate questions. I do like the idea. I just want to we've talked about, it's kind of like what we talked about, Liz. You always talk about, but nothing ever seems to get done. I think the purpose of this was just to get the ball rolling, which we have. But it sounds like a majority of you want to get it all together first
Right.
before we start rolling it out. So,
Well, maybe if we could check on Tom's system.
yeah,
You
and
know.
check, and then go before the city council, because we would need to talk to them
Yeah,
about it.
get
And
it.
then propose it, so.
It was something that could be implemented in a few months or even 6 months. Is there a way then not to have conflict by having maybe one of us, it could be me, go in and backfill all those previously made reservations into the system and avoid any kind of conflict?
We're exposed that we're going to start doing that, and we're going to start charging in 2022, but we're looking to go and have it be online, and we do not have that set up yet or something, but tell them that there is going to be a fee change this year, that there's going to be a fee charge.
So what I think we should do then is just make a motion to put this off until January, and then come up with a plan with the reservation system and do a full package is what you guys are recommending.
I think so.
I think so.
You don't need a motion to do that.
No.
Just do it.
You just do
I
it?
think we should check, though. Who would check on Tom's system?
Because my motion would be that we go forward with the reservation system as is, with the 2-fee system, and we start right away, and we present that to the council. We want the money going back to the Parks Commission. So that would be my proposal, but I don't think it would carry. Listen to the conversation.
So the software, it's not, don't think of it as software, because it's all hosted from their side. It's called CampSpot, CampPSPOT. And they charge you $2 per booking, flat fee. They don't charge you a setup fee because they'll recoup their money per the bookings.
And there would be no fee from the city then?
No.
I mean, we'd take the $2 from the reservation.
They actually take it right out. Everything is on their end.
So they would take the money for the reservation,
98.
and then they would send a check to the city.
No, they would be connected through an account that you set up here, be it a credit card account, be it a city account, be it a bank account.
Oh, that would be a
It
problem.
works in collaboration with them.
How does that online system determine residency?
That's where you guys will have to figure that out. That's a tough thing to do in any aspect.
I think I'd like to go ahead with Bob's suggestion, is just to make a motion to accept the reservation system like you had talked about, and then,
At 2 fees, resident, non-resident, half day, full day, and that the money is used, and there's no refund from it either. You make reservations, put your money down, it's a commitment. And also that the money is used by the Park Commission, returned to the Park Commission for beautification of parks and repair of parks. A long motion, but that's my motion.
and then
We work on the system, obviously, as we go, but at least know where we are. We tell the council, this is what we want, and we'll work on all the particular details as we run into them, and as need be. It's not part of the motion, but.
so we got a motion on the floor.
No second, though.
I'll second. Can I do that?
Yep, certainly.
All in favor?
Favor?
Here,
Aye. What, not in favor?
I'm not in favor.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I think we should get it right the first. We have a tendency not to.
Okay. Well, we got motion carried. We got the majority. I understand, honestly, Kelly, and I understand Liz, that nothing ever seems to go forward sometimes, and that's why we're in the position that we're in. But it is up to us to do that, to make it go forward. I'll be honest with you, attending these city council meetings and being a voice for the Parks Commission, we get things done. We really do. Things are moving forward. I don't think had we not brought this before the city council, this would never have been another dead issue that we would have talked about. So I understand, we need to tweak it once we get it involved, but that's the process, to be quite honest with you. But to get it rolling, I think is the most important part. So the motion carried, that we accept the reservation system, we accept the rate.
Tim, it is a little bit backwards, the way this process just worked, though, respectfully. The Parks Commission took a concept to City Council. Council laid out what its vision for it was. Staff put together a program based on the council's direction. Then it came back to the Parks Commission, and the Parks Commission had differing opinions. The way that it should work is, when that concept is brought to the Parks Commission, you guys lay out an outline, bring it to City Council. City Council can then adjust to it, but they have the final say on that. It almost went back and forth, which is one of the ways things get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
the
So,
motion didn't say how is to work out, just that we are in favor of doing it.
I understand.
So,
But I see what you're saying, Jeff.
so where are we?
Well, I think you've opinioned on those items that, in Bob's motion, that the council had questions about, and I think now we can take that consensus back to Bill. Bill can relay that to the council, and then hopefully this gets implemented early in '22.
Okay.
Then someone will develop like a form that they fill out, like a little application. The city will do that.
We have it, and
Okay.
if Tim, if you want me to forward that tomorrow to everybody, or even tonight,
Yeah, I got
We can do
it. I
that.
have it in my computer.
Jeff, is that like available online? So maybe that would be the compromise, that they could download
yes, we can do
forms
that.
online. And you could probably email it to the city and maybe allow them to put their credit card. What I'm trying to think of is someone out in the county, or just allow them to do it maybe a little bit online, that they could fill it out, and if they wanted to, email their credit card information or even call in their credit card. So they basically could do it without coming in, picking up the form, taking it home.
Yeah.
Without making it be a thing. So that would be a little compromise too. at least we have it online with a little bit.
Yeah, and the big thing from council, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, was start with baby steps, get it rolling, and then we'll perfect it.
You are always going to have a segment of the population that's going to live here in the city, that's gonna walk right into City Hall and want to pay at the window to the reservation, because they don't want to do it online.
Right,
So you're gonna have.
satisfy both.
Yeah, so we have 3 modes of payment.
Okay. All right, well, so it sounds like we're moving forward. You guys all accepted the rates, and we'll make a recommendation, like Jeff had said, in our proposal to Bill, and then present it to the city council, and then they'll vote on it. So, is that correct?
Right, you don't have to make reference to the actual vote count.
Right.
The
As
motion
far as
passed.
From the Parks Commission.
Right, motion passed.
And the one thing I forgot to add, though, and obviously things are changing, there should be some marijuana usage law, language in the rules. And in thinking about that too, that probably, because we're referencing when we give this application, they have to follow our rules and regulations, which we're going to go over next. So my thinking is that the marijuana, talking about it could probably be included in the rules and regulations, which would cover it all. So when we're going forward, we're going to go on now to the review to update parks rules and regulations. This hasn't been gone over for a lot of years. But basically, we're just going to go item by item and see if anybody has any recommendations for any changes in this, and then we'll make that presentation. So, City of Manistee Park System Rules and Regulations. City of Manistee, in order to maintain and operate the public parks under its jurisdiction in the best interest of the people of Manistee, has adopted these general rules and regulations set forth herein under powers granted to it by Act Number 147, Public Acts of Michigan, 1939. So, number 1, preservation of property, natural resource, and wildlife. No person shall injure, deface, disturb, befoul, nor in any manner destroy any park facility, sign, structure, equipment, utility, or property found therein. No person shall dig for, remove, injure, or destroy any tree, flower, shrub, or growing thing, or any rock, mineral, or artifact within a park. No person shall kill, trap, hunt, pursue, or in any manner disturb any wild bird or animal within the boundaries of the park. Any corrections or additions to that? Behavior, no person shall assault or assault and battery on any person, be drunk in a public park under the influence of any narcotic drug, engage in any indecent, insulting, immoral, or obscene conduct in public, utter vile, profane, or obscene language, make any immoral exhibition of indecent exposure of his or her person, engage any disturbance, fight, or quarrel in the public park, engage in prostitution, gambling, the illegal sale of intoxicating liquor, destroy, injure, or any manner deface any drinking fountain, or throw or deposit any substance therein.
So, do you want to add after illegal sale of intoxicating liquor or drugs?
I would think under I'm thinking behavior would be the use of marijuana. In there?
Oh, I'm just saying, under the illegal sale.
The sale, because that occurs at First Street Beach.
Jim, is there some reason we have to go through all of this today? Can we take it home, read it, call you up, make our suggestions, if we have any?
I think the natural tendency of this is to go through a line item by line item, to be honest with you, to read it, go over it, and make any additions or deletions. So, unless everybody wants to do that.
I mean, I've read it. I guess we could tweak it a little bit here and there, but,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good with however Tim wants to do it.
Say read it.
yeah, I personally like to just go over it and make sure that we're all under understanding and reading it, and then, I mean, it's not gonna take that long. It's only four or 5 pages, to go through it very quickly. So on behavior, you want to add the sale or use of marijuana?
No, I'm just saying drugs.
Drugs.
Yeah, drugs.
Yeah.
You don't want, I think, because marijuana is legalized, I think somehow it needs to be addressed in here one way or the other.
Right. But we're talking about the illegal sale, so we don't want to sell illegal drugs either.
Correct.
I'm not
Oh, you're
saying-
just saying add it in there.
Yeah, I'm not, it has
What'd you say,
nothing to do
Lonnie?
with marijuana.
Legal, where'd you say?
So it says, engage in prostitution, gambling, the illegal sale of intoxicating liquor.
And drugs.
And drugs, that's all, add and drugs.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
Legal or illegal, yeah.
Yeah, legal or illegal. Park hours under park jurisdiction of the police chief. I didn't know that the parks are under the police chief jurisdiction.
First I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. Is it under the jurisdiction of the city police? When I was reading this for the first time, I was kind of surprised and taken back by that. So like, is that just something that had always been assumed?
The
Maybe
language
not?
seems like it came from 1939 when the act was written, but I circled that and I'll ask about it.
Yeah, to me, that doesn't make sense. I didn't think it was under the jurisdiction of the police chief. So I think that's one of the issues. Jeff, if you could look into that
I will.
and let us know, or get an opinion on that. Shall be open from, our parks are open from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. unless otherwise posted. Considerations made for fishing seasons. Any exception would always, I think typically what I read, it goes before the city council for any exceptions for that. I don't know if that's something that we need to be adding on there.
Yeah, I'm making notes. Under that, I think there's several references as you read on about unless authorized by city council.
Right.
We can put a special event request section in here.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate. Fires may be built only to picnic grills or other devices as placed by the park department or approval for replacement by, again, the police chief. That doesn't make any sense. That needs to be reworded.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that we just need to clean up. If we're going to attach this to our reservation system, this has to go along with that.
So I noted that we have fire pits, so we need to add language that we've got fire pits as one of the approved areas.
Glass beverages, no glass containers of any type on the beaches. Alcohol beverages may be consumed only in the picnic areas or other areas designated by the police chief. And no alcohol is permitted in the parks between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. except at special events by permit. Alcohol beverages stronger than beer or wine are prohibited at all times.
That's the first I've ever seen
That
that.
is too. So do you like that language? Should we clean that up a little bit?
You do allow it at a wedding, right? If they wanted alcohol at a wedding? Other
Yeah,
than beer and wine?
I would almost take that bottom one out. Alcohol beverages stronger than beer and wine are prohibited at all
I
times.
would suggest that, yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Again, I think that relates to the time that it was done. Dogs and pets are permitted in parks only when they're kept on a leash and kept under immediate control of some reasonable, responsible person, except that pets are not permitted in picnic areas, in buildings, on beaches, on the Riverwalk, or other areas as posted. The owner will assume full responsibility for all pets and cleanups after them. Guide dogs for the impaired are permitted in all park areas.
What about the Riverwalk? Do we allow dogs there now?
So there's a lot inconsistent with this one.
Yeah.
Number one, there's a section of the Riverwalk where it's permitted, and that is within the DDA limits, basically from Spruce Street to US 31. Those are allowed on the South Riverwalk. We also allow dogs on the beach between the Stub Pier and the South Breakwater. That's a designated dog beach. And dogs are also allowed at the North Beach access. So I think we should put language that clarifies that. And I've been at the beaches enough. There's dogs everywhere and everybody brings their dogs. So I can understand the beach aspect, even though that gets violated hourly, but I'm not sure about picnic areas and stuff like that. I think the concern is always, previously, I'm just guessing, was just cleaning up after a dog. But is that a huge issue, Vicki?
What's your issue?
Clean and make
That's not a huge issue. The huge issue is glass and cans and fire pits. A lot of glass.
Yeah. So I don't know what the commission's opinion is on where dogs, it feels to me like society was very dog restrictive for a while, and now it's becoming very dog friendly. So I think our rules should reflect current times,
I agree.
and I would like the commission's opinion on what that means.
I think we just need more.
I would agree. I've gone along Lakeshore and some other areas where dogs are permitted on the beach after 5, or after 6, with their owners. I think we had talked about that a long time ago. Are we too restrictive? It's happening anyways, to be quite honest
Well,
with you.
and respectfully, there's no enforcement.
No,
So if there's no enforcement, the rules are
they're
going to
just
get
there.
bent, yeah.
And the season makes a difference. I mean, there's nobody, like, if you took your dog to the beach today, you'd be the only one. But if you took it July 4th, then that could be a problem. So the seasons make a difference too.
So we'd have to make a recommendation about that. I'm almost thinking as we go over this, just make people general aware, and then just do a quick subcommittee, to finalize the final draft.
I think that makes sense, and work on some language, and then let people react to it, and
So, so I think we'll go over this, then we'll form our subcommittee, and then we'll come up with a new draft.
Mutt mitts. Yeah, there needs to be more of the mutt mitts all over the place too, because there's not enough.
Okay. Yeah.
well, I agree with you if the boundaries of where you can have them are expanded.
Right,
Right now, we have them only where they're allowed,
yeah.
So if we expand that, we'll have to invest in that.
Okay. Swimming, bathing, and wading. No person shall swim in the Manistee River between the channel at Lake Michigan on the west and the Manistee Lake to the east. No person shall swim or dive from the 5th Avenue Pier, Stub Pier, First Street Pier, except for authorized public safety purposes. Proper wear and apparel shall be worn. That's one of those things that's not really enforced either, to be honest with you. I mean, 5th Avenue.
I mean, don't they do that all the time?
What's that?
Jump off the pier?
It is extremely, extremely dangerous. And it's dangerous because the sands shift and there's massive boulders down there, whether you can see them or not. One day they can be there, or one day they could impact you, the next day they could be gone. And I just mean by the sand shifting. So I think that has to be in there. I think there's actually an ordinance.
Just covering.
There's a city ordinance that reflects that, but it's tough to enforce.
Camping, no camping in city parks except by council authorization. I've seen camping, but obviously I was surprised one time when I saw a bunch of campers over by First Street, but that had been approved by the city council and a special permit. So there are exceptions to that.
Yeah, the only 2 exceptions that I'm aware of is the Catamaran Racing Association specifically asked to camp down there, and then the Forest Festival camping occurred, and then I had some serious camping occurred as part of the flea market and the vendors, which then I asked the chamber to put that in their specific request to the council, and they actually printed out permits so that they could put them in their windshields. But once that started, then there were private people camping and listening to the music outside of their camper, and then they just go jump inside but we've got signs posted, and so.
Let's handle it. Picnicking is permitted only in designated picnic areas. No reservations permitted or taken for any city park facility. Obviously, that's going to need to be changed with what the reservation system we have.
Right.
So that's obviously going to need to be addressed. We're going to try to start fading away from the first come, first serve. I mean, slowly but gradually. So roping off a fencing or park area should be permitted only authorized by the city council. So obviously, item number 9 is going to need to be redone. Disposal of refuse. No person shall deposit or abandon any park in the adjacent waters of adjacent ice, any garbage, sewage, trash, or other obnoxious materials. Receptacles are placed for park activities, trash or fishing generated trash, no household trash. I think that's pretty straightforward. No person shall operate or play any musical instrument, radio, tape, or disc player, loudspeaker, public address system, or other sound amplification device, nor yell, shout, whistle, or, I mean, again, I think it's kind of going back in time what they used to do.
Boy, you sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hear Bob whistle all the time at the beach, so he'd be in violation all the time. To create a disturbance between hours 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. unless otherwise posted by permit or special counsel for special events reasons. So, I mean, we're talking about 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. in that particular area, but maybe some of the language could be modernized a little bit on that particular section. And again, I think when we form the subcommittee, they'll take, any comments on that at all? Motor vehicles, maximum speed limit for all vehicles should be 15 miles per hour. Vehicles should be driven only on designated park roads, parked only in designated parking spots. Horn honking for any other than safety purposes, engine racing, or other unnecessary attention seeking actions are prohibited. Off-road vehicles, no motor vehicle driven, including, by the way, example of motorbikes, dune.
Can I have a question?
Yeah,
On 12, when we talk about speed limit of 15 miles an hour, where is that the designated speed limit for 15? Where is it posted and where is it enforced?
I've seen it on First Street Beach over by Douglas Park.
First Street's the only actual through
Yeah.
road that goes through the park, through a park.
That's the only place.
Yeah.
And we used to have some signs in Harbor Village.
Right, and
We don't know where the beach starts.
we're being recorded, so I don't want to really say, but you can't post speeds lower than 25 miles an hour unless they are in a park. That's state motor vehicle code. So we had to take the signs down that went down Lake Shore because you can't enforce that.
But we're not even enforcing 25. But it's been nice lately, we have a couple of police cars sitting over there occasionally. And that's welcomed. Thank you.
All right, no problem. I think for off-road vehicles, no motor vehicle driven vehicle included by example of motorbike, dune mobile, snowmobile, all-terrain vehicles, amphibious vehicles shall be operated within a park, except that watercraft may be short duration beached on the Lake Michigan shoreline outside designated areas. So, any language change recommended for that?
Yes, golf carts are allowed in the city.
Good point.
What's that?
Golf carts are allowed in the city for transportation.
14, bicycle, rollerblades, roller skates, and skateboards. Bicycles, rollerblades, roller skates, and skateboards are prohibited on the Riverwalk, including the city marina area. Do we need to expand that? Yeah, I don't see anything about the pier, Fifth Avenue.
It's
mean, that's-
posted though.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
good to add.
It is
the pier.
posted.
I would think that we would want to add our piers.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, piers.
I would think in along walkways within the city parks.
So walkways within the city parks? Okay.
Or something to that effect.
You can tell it definitely needed, it hasn't, I don't think this has been touched for quite a while, so.
Yeah, I remember the parks going over it maybe 8-10 years ago, but they didn't change a bunch.
They just kind of read over it.
Yeah.
Firearms, other weapons, no person shall possess or control any rifle, shotgun, pistol, bow, arrow, slingshot, pellet gun, air rifle, fireworks, explosive, paint gun, blowgun, or other dangerous substances within the boundaries of any park except for law enforcement officers duly appointed by the government of the United States or political subdivision of the state of Michigan. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Question for my children.
Yeah,
Are Nerf guns allowed in city parks?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
It's activity for kids and what they do.
They say thank you.
Yeah.
What about fireworks, though? You know, that's not appointed by the government or political. I mean, fireworks for special events. I mean, that's,
I think that's where it'd be like special permits.
okay.
to count. I mean, fireworks on city property are
On public property are prohibited.
prohibited,
Yeah.
But
so.
it didn't really say for special events. I think that should be.
No, I think we should add that.
Yeah, okay.
You know, or you have to have special permit, you know, for the use of that. Commercial activities, no person or organization other than the city and its hirees and licensees shall, while on park lands, advertise, offer for hire, vend, or sell any service, food, beverage, merchandise, carry on or conduct any other business or commercial activity, nor shall any person or organization beg or solicit contributions or donations while on park lands except for permit from the council. So, is park lands a good terminology now? Or should that be changed? Is that what the times?
Well, these are park rules, so it would seem to align.
Okay. It just seems like the language could be updated on that. Signs and handbills, newspaper, other circulars. What's handbills?
Flyers.
Why
Yes,
did
Mayor.
you look at me? I'm not that
No,
old.
look at the mayor.
Oh,
No, she raised her hand. What's a handbill?
All right, under the commercial activities, we did have an incident, was it last year, maybe it was the year before, whenever we had, a major election, and somebody did rent, I believe it was the pavilion, or reserve the pavilion by putting your note on the bulletin board or whatever. It was for one political party, and I can't remember whether it was the Democrats or the Republicans, it really doesn't matter. They were selling merchandise to support their party inside there. I don't have a problem with that if they rented a space and they're selling merchandise to support their cause. I personally don't. So I think the language needs to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Throw it out.
I think handbills can be struck
Yes.
in really the first full sentence or the first 2.5 lines,
Yeah.
and begin at no person shall post.
And what about police?
Yeah, that needs to be updated. I think that's what Jeff is going to check on.
I would eliminate from handbills and the first sentence right through police chief, that whole,
Right, and just start with no person shall post.
yeah.
Okay. No person shall post, paint, or affix any placard upon any structure, tree, or automobile within the park, except that temporary directional signs for group events may be placed upon the ground. It must be removed at the conclusion of the event. So almost it would be, so instead of signs and handbills, it would be titled a little bit different on that too. Then,
Probably
right?
just signs or.
You're right. Closing a park or portions thereof, any park or portion thereof may be closed entirely or closed to certain uses, including such examples, possession of alcohol, dangerous weapons, weather conditions for such periods that may be determined by the police chief or city manager. Control of watercraft, a no-wake rule exists in the Manistee River between the channel at Lake Michigan on the west and Manistee Lake to the east. Other rules, regulations, and boater information is included in the marina section of this pamphlet. Sounds pretty straightforward. Fishing is permitted in any season from the piers on Lake Michigan shoreline away from designated swimmers. A fishing license is required. Further information, license may be obtained at local tackle shops. Fish cleaning stations provided at the First Street Boat Launch area. No fish cleaning is allowed in any other area. Is that still
I think maybe you should put a date in there too, when it's open.
on the?
Right now, the fish cleaning station's closed.
Yeah, but the important thing is, if you're gonna clean a fish in a park, it has to be there, or you don't clean it anywhere. Right?
Right. Other activities not provided for specifically in these rules may be subjected as posted regulations by action of the police chief or action by the Manistee City Council as determined necessary for public safety or the orderly conduct of city business. So obviously in going through this, it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit and some of the language may be changed. Do we got anybody on this commission that's interested in being a part of this? Karen?
Yes, I'm
Oh, I'm sorry.
interested. in
I just
being-
was saying that. I just was reading it.
Absolutely.
Anybody else want to work with Karen? Do you want me to start calling out more names? Liz?
Yep.
All right, we got Liz and Karen.
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
My kids again, on their behalf, are lemonade stands bake sales, any activity of that sort allowed, say Sands Park, any of the city parks? Is that a no-no?
They need a special permit from DPW.
Well, from city council.
City council.
They would
The
need that to do like a Girl
Technically,
Scout
yeah.
cookie sale or
Technically.
anything
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Technically.
To sell lemonade? Really?
Per the rules.
Yeah.
Really?
It's good to know.
So Jeff, you want to work on this too?
I don't know, you'll have to ask the police chief. He's,
Yeah.
He died.
Do you want to work with Liz and Karen?
absolutely. And I made notes of all those, and we can work on drafting some new language.
Yeah, because I would think you guys would need to start working on this pretty soon if we're going to start doing the proposal of the reservation system. So I'll give you a deadline to the end of this month. I just joking. Hopefully within a couple months we can have something cleaner, that we can present to the city. Because I think this would go before the city council too with the whole packet. 'Cause they're-
Yeah, the important timeliness of this is we want to reference this and include it with the reservation agreement.
Great. So we formed a subcommittee. You guys will all work together and clean that up then. That's awesome. The bylaws update, I'm gonna push that until January. I'm probably about, what's that?
We should read it before the next meeting.
Well,
I mean, not read it aloud, we can read it on our own.
yeah, read it on your own. We've already gone through it once and there was a proposal, but there were so many questions on it. I think Tom and I worked on that. So I think they just wanted nice versus what we've had in the past. So I'm just going to take the bylaws and move that to January. So Morton Park, well, you weren't here our last meeting. I gave you that book back, by the way. That's on your
I took
table.
it.
Yeah, I went through it very well. The idea of the Morton Park, some funds have been donated or are set aside for improvements of that park.
City council requested capital improvement funds be budgeted, and they are budgeted.
So the proposal
improvements.
or the recommendation from the commission was, when we met last, is to include the city residents in the discussions as far as what they'd like to see for that park. So the idea was that we would put out a invitation in the Manistee Advocate for our January meeting to have them, residents, invite them here for input on Morton Park Salt
Okay.
and kind of go from there. Kelly, you kind of suggested that too, didn't you? Do you think, we just think that's a good idea to get their input in what we have?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anybody have any questions on that, on the Morton Park?
I guess I wanted an update where we are with Morton Salt, as far as Morton Park. We still like each other, still supporting us, that kind of thing. Because I think the last thing I remember, and I didn't miss meetings, was there was a new manager, plant manager, and you were going to talk to him. So
He
what'd he say?
said no.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What'd he say?
That makes a big difference.
What'd he say, Jeff?
They politely said, not at this time. With the new owners, maybe it'll change in the future.
So that no to money or no to the use?
No to the donation.
Yeah.
Okay, but we could,
The city has a lease,
okay.
a standing lease for that property.
For perpetuity, or is it just a little short?
I don't remember. Well, I know that when Roger Zelinski was on, I believe it's a year to year. It's a long-term lease, $1 a year, and it's like 99 years or something. Yeah. So I don't think there's any concern with the city investing in improvements. But the proffer of money from the plant to put into that park has gone with the change of ownership. And I've just asked if they would keep if he would keep his ears open, and if there's different opportunities in the future, obviously we'd like to explore those, so.
Very good.
And where are we with the dog run for that park? Where are we? Is it gonna go
Well, I guess
in?
you're waiting for city residents to give their input on what improvements they would like in that park at your January meeting.
think that's what we're all waiting for. I mean, I think we decided as commission, if we're gonna do something with the park, we should also include the residents that live in that area. So we meet in January to take their suggestions on the dog park too, so.
So did we come up with a way to do that solidly?
To,
Get input from,
well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna contact the Manistee Advocate just to publicize that.
Okay.
We'd like to get citizen input at our January meeting. you know,
Okay.
And that Morton Park will be a part of that conversation.
so who's gonna do that?
I'll do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go on to new business, 2000. So basically, we talked about in our last commission meeting, we have goals that I think we need to establish for 2022 as a commission. Liz came up with a good list. You want to talk about your?
Well, I thought we all were gonna kind of, so I just
Yeah.
put together a list.
Yeah.
We're kind of saying, sometimes you don't always get from A to B. I think one suggestion I had, I had spoken with this guy, there was a neat guy up in Glen Arbor who's the head of their parks. He's a volunteer, I believe, but he had come from Muskegon, and he said, so I saw both cities where he'd been in both cities, he'd been on the Parks Commission and the school board in Muskegon and in Glen Arbor, and he said, in Muskegon, we were a town with no money. In Glen Arbor, we have a surplus of money, literally a surplus. But we happen to go up there. Their parks are state of the art. I mean, it's a draw. And it's like they just put in 8 new tennis courts. They've got, and they're working with the schools. And they just, so I said, would you ever meet with us and show us your parks? He said, I would love to do that. And he said, because I've run both gamuts. So I thought I'd set a goal, because I think we sometimes need to look outside our city to get ideas and not, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's see what works. Let's see what works in a small town. And this guy is willing to help us a little bit. So I thought I'd propose that some of us go up there and make a visit to him, write down what he says.
Yeah.
He seemed on board. And I got his name, I called up there because we happened to visit their park, and it was like, knock your socks off. It was like, anyway, so that would be one of my first things. And then I like the idea, we aren't doing it, Bob is doing it, reporting every month on our adopt a park, or not adopt a park, but just go, we each take, I think there's 14 parks, if each of us took 2 parks and visited it once a month, and like, my husband said, well, everybody will probably go the day before. I said, that's fine. You just go check on your park and see what's going on in the park you're assigned to. Is it being maintained? Is it clean? What could improve it? And just keep your eye on, update us on the park. And so I thought that was a good idea. And then one idea I thought of back when I first started on this is assign each park to a neighborhood, call them a little park, volunteer park ranger who inspects the park weekly, and then they report to that person. If I had Morton Park, I would just ask a person next to it who lived there, would you just keep your eye on this park, and you kind of be the neighborhood watchdog on this park? Is it safe? We don't want people just loitering here, doing things that they shouldn't be doing in that park that go against our rules, and is it clean? And, who's using it? And, if they said at Morton Park, there's little kids down here all the time, then you'd say, let's put in equipment. Or she said, everybody in town seems to bring their dogs here. I mean, let them give us input on that, and ask for these volunteers, and involve the neighborhood in the park. And then give them a checklist, so they're all looking for the same things, that they just say, here's what I look for.
I mean, it's a clever word called park ranger. I thought we were all gonna be park rangers, but
Well, we are. We're the ones, yeah. I thought, get them. And then I thought,
Jeff's gonna give us badges too.
yeah.
You don't need no stinking badges.
Tom would have stayed on if he knew that we had badges.
That we got a
coming.
badge.
I bet.
And a certificate.
Might be a way of getting him back, to be quite honest with you.
Next to my other one.
And then like a DPW, and I think we need to work close with the DPW. What is their winter goals, and what are the projects that you guys are working on? Not in a negative, and not to check on them, but even can we, enlist some help or some volunteers? But what our goals should be compatible and the same, and we should know what you're doing, and same thing. Then I put the dog park at Morton Park. And then people have told me that the equipment at Fifth Avenue, they said it almost looks unsafe, like that carousel thing that my friends who've taken their grandkids up there said, this is unsafe. It's that park shoots.
We just rehabbed that.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
That was perfect then. And then the same thing as Rocket Park. They said that, I don't know if it's just painting it, but that equipment needs, you know, we're talking about goals, that equipment needs to be updated a bit. And people still use Rocket Park, but
The old Rocket Park?
the old Rocket Park, that's like the Manistee landmark. They don't,
I know. Let me give you some background. The new Rocket Park, when the grant application was submitted, the plan was to remove the old Rocket Park. And when the new one was built, and I actually had somebody interested in, a community interested in buying the old Rocket, and the community blew up and said, no, 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 can't get rid of it. So Ms. Teller actually got volunteers, and they went and painted all that equipment. And then Mickey's crew has rehabbed a couple pieces, brought them in and repainted them, reset them. So we're trying to limp it along, but a lot of that stuff's not safe anymore.
So then we need to make a decision, right? Or who makes that decision?
I tried, and I'm not going down that road again.
that's, yeah.
That's a mayoral decision, I believe.
I mean, obviously, looks is one thing, but functionality is another. If it's not
Safe.
doing, yeah, if it's not safe, then it just seems like the city's taking liability for keeping that equipment out there. So maybe it's the recommendations like Liz had brought up when we're assigning parks to commissioners, that you could come back and come up with this list. And I'll tell you, and I give a lot of credit to the mayor too. If you want to be a voice for the park, you got to come to the city council meetings. There's always opportunities for us to come up here to speak before that podium. If we're not seeing things that need to be directed, put the accountability on them. You know, the city council to start changing things, and we don't let up. You know, and I think that is one of those. If something like that is dangerous and it's not functional, then it needs to be gone. You need to get rid of it. Or replace it with something very similar, or whatever needs to be done, but I like that idea.
Then the next one is the tennis courts at Sands Park. And I talked to the tennis coach at Manistee High School, and they are basically unusable. And they are a negative to the community. It's when people,
courts?
the Sands Park, there's 4 tennis courts there that are just, we need to. And
That's
it's
also
not-
true of Fifth Avenue Beach Park.
Well, the Fifth Avenue voted not to use, so now we're down to the 4 tennis courts at First Street Beach. And you cannot, they made an exception last year for 2 home tennis meets, but you're supposed to have 8 courts to hold a high school match. And they let us have 2 home ones, but they, that was an exception. They didn't have to allow that. And I don't know, and I asked the tennis coach, and he said there used to be a Sands Park Foundation. Does that still exist? So
There's no foundation.
okay, he said at one point there was money that would, and then, would the school ever give us money? And I would go ask that, he would not.
First of all, Sands Park has a governing body that runs that park. And it is made up of 2 members of the city and 2 members of the school. And I think that was put in place when the family donated the property for the public use. So we've had meetings in the past, and we've explored this with the school. And the school has told us that they don't have money to put towards tennis there. And if they're gonna put money towards tennis courts, they would rather have them on the school grounds and adjacent to their facilities.
Well, if we're gonna rebuild them, we could look at that, except for that we have the fencing right there. But the school, they do have money now. They have money. But, you know, they lost the Fuller family because we didn't have a track. And they had 4 kids, and he had been a coach at Central. So, you know, we built the track after we lost their family, and now the Fullers are back after the kids graduated. But, you know, we might be losing families that are looking at Manistee whose kids have played tennis elsewhere, if it was a physician or a plant manager, someone looking, and some of those people are choosing Ludington to live in. And maybe the school would be a little bit more interested, or they should be more interested, I don't know. But anyway, we need them as a city, I think. To have 4 tennis courts is, it's
first of the year.
It looks bad for our Parks
Yeah,
Commission
and
to
about
have.
the only thing reusable at Sands on the tennis courts is the fencing.
Fencing, exactly,
The entire court has to be removed
to be removed.
and reconstructed,
That's 100% true. We can't put a patch on it like we did at First Street.
100%.
Oh, I was just gonna support you in saying that having just moved back to Manistee after many years away, the lack of a tennis program for boys in the city, my boys love tennis, they would love to be on the tennis team, but that is a big negative.
Yes, it is.
We would like, obviously, to see
Then,
added from
and the
a-
school should take an interest in that, because we're lucky you guys came back
Thank you.
with 5 kids. That, and we could be losing families because of that. And
Yeah, I've tried to find funding for 14 years for Sands Park, and I have not found anything.
Well, like the pickleball courts, there was a need for that. We were probably the only town maybe in the United States that didn't have pickleball courts. And the funding came, a lot of it was raised, and it was like that Lions Pavilion. I think that was built for under 100,000. It was very nominal because it was all donations, and a lot of the help, the construction costs were donated. And that pickleball thing out there, I think that was like 60,000, which
They got a Manistee Community Foundation grant for that.
not much. There was so much local money put into that. That truly was a lot of local money. The grant wasn't huge for that. So, you know, maybe we could raise money for that tennis courts, but I think that you can't say it can't happen. I think it has to.
I didn't say it can't happen. I
No,
said
I
I've been
know.
trying. We've met with the local tennis groups. We've met with the coaches. We've gone to the Professional Tennis Association, tried to explore grants through that. We applied for a DNR grant and didn't receive it. So then we applied through the Manistee Community Foundation. They then went through and studied all of the tennis facilities because they had the pickleball request and our request, and they decided they denied our request, but said we're gonna fund Manistee Township for pickleball, and if you change your request and do this and this and this, we'll reconsider it, but not at Sands Park. We would consider it if it was at First Street. So then we submitted and received the grant to upgrade the First Street courts, which now have to be repaired after the wind destroyed some of the wind fencing or wind fabric, but.
I just think that would just be a goal. I think, and it should be a goal that we do get accomplished, because it's, like there again, Glen Arbor has 8, and they can hold. And I
Mickey,
think it's actually more than 8. They
The
have 8
school
at the
puts
high
up the nets
school,
at Sands Park, don't
and they
they?
have 4 downtown.
I agree with you.
So I just think that it's inexcusable.
Sad to have tennis courts on one side of the city.
Yeah. So, just FYI, the school is the one that puts the nets up at Sands Park. We don't even do that, because we've had internal conversations that there should not even be nets up there. It's so dangerous.
Yeah. But I think we should pursue it. I just think that we should get tennis courts some way. It's not like, you know, we're talking about playground equipment, 35,000 for playground equipment. That's a start, you know, and I don't know. I just think we should have a sinking fund, or we have something that we set, you know.
Yeah, I think the 4 courts there 5 years ago was 185,000, something like that,
Which 4 courts at?
for Sands Park to redo those.
That's not insurmountable on a town. When we pay what we pay in taxes, that seems very low, 185,000. We just got, and that's why I wouldn't be afraid to go to the school. Everybody just got a huge increase on their, you know, for the school, and,
They could care less about the tennis courts. The school didn't put any bond money towards the tennis
oh,
courts.
I know.
They don't care. And I guess that's the question I would
That's
have. If the city goes ahead, you know, in the future, and we're able to do tennis courts, why would we put them there? Because then we're restricted, as city residents, to use them. We're gonna be having to do it when the school allows us to use it. It'll be on their schedule, and do we really wanna do that?
Well, the
No,
school loses
we don't.
wherever we put
Right,
them. I mean, they're using First Street
Exactly.
wherever we put them. And I'm not against the school, but
right.
the reason we do Sands Park is because it is on the, you know, it's a different location, and it's kind of a general location. and we have the fencing, so that would save us some. I mean, it wouldn't save us tons, but.
I definitely think it's a goal worth pursuing.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
this
it's
way.
just a.
So, but the thing is this, just like everything else, make that your passion and make it happen.
I mean, I don't even play tennis. I just think it's a.
No, but it's.
But I think it's something our town needs. I mean, I'm not looking at it that we're not playing tennis, because I'd never play it even on a new court. It's just too late to learn that. But I think we need it. So,
Well, we found somebody to spearhead that effort.
And crewing.
Yes.
yeah, we just need some, I think we need more to do. And then another goal is work closer with DPW, City Council, and Tim, you've made a huge, and Linda, coming here. I mean, between Linda and Tim, that, we are working close with City Council, and DPW, Jeff and Mick come. So I think that we're making stands there. The one that I think we're missing a little bit on is the MRA. In the MRA, when I was a kid, I worked for the Parks Department in high school and younger, and we worked, it was combined, the MRA and the DPW with Warren Poland, and this was way back in the day, in the 70s, 60s. Anyways, dating myself. In the 60s, it was different. No, but in the 60s, there was a very close relationship, and I thought the MRA is using the parks. They're ones that could help us, and they should be involved in the cleanup, the improvements, and some of those things. And the MRA, we don't even hear that much from. I mean, MRA should be a liaison to us. So that was just an idea.
Who's the MRA?
Manistee Recreation Association.
Oh.
So they do the soccer in the parks, and, they're a good organization, but I think we should know what they're doing and,
Extend an
I didn't know
invitation
that.
out.
yeah.
You should tell them.
Get them involved in their input. The last thing is more activities in the parks. I mean, could we show a movie in the park in the summer?
didn't
Just
know that.
something to get people to the parks. Just a little group of, let's,
Summersky put the big tent out, put a movie
Yeah,
out, invite
yeah.
the kids, have popcorn.
yeah, summer in the park, and they do that in a lot of cities. And it's
Yeah.
kind of neat. You do it in a, show it on the side of the school or something, but just try it and see if it would work.
I don't know about you, but listening to Liz, that's the kind of fire we need on our commission. But always keep in mind, nothing's going to get done unless we band together and work on that. Mary, you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to let the commission know that we made some changes on city council on where their committee assignments were. And one of my appointments was Cindy Lundberg is now on the MRA board.
Oh,
And
good.
because she's a teacher at Jefferson, she's really into sports. I think we need to connect with her. That's just a suggestion. But if you want us to go forward, I think this is the way to do it.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome.
She's not on board. No, city replacement.
Very good. Let's go to roundtable, because I think we're listening to Liz. I mean, obviously Liz outlined a lot of goals that she would like to see, but we can include that on our roundtable as we go back, like what you see your goals for being for 2022. Like I've said before in prior meetings, I've sat on this commission way too long not to get things done. It's very frustrating, and you honestly feel like you're wasting your time. And I don't want any commission member to ever feel like that. We all have valuable input. And like I said, I've learned over the years, I'm not perfect. I mean, even how I conduct these meetings, still not there yet, obviously. Maybe not doing it the right method, maybe not going about the right way, but I'll learn from it, and continue to go forward. But we're all responsible for these changes, and I think we have the motivation. We come before the city council, we represent ourselves. I think we have a lot of things that we can get accomplished together. So, Bob, you want to start? You got anything to discuss?
No. I can certainly give a little report on what's happening down Fifth Avenue Beach.
Yeah.
Our snow fences are falling down. Got a lot of wind, but I don't know why they're falling down. I have one concern about, and I reported this before to the proper authorities, that we have fence posts in the middle of the beach. I mean, go down the walkway and there's fence posts that are sticking up in the middle of the beach. There was only one for a long time. Now there are three. So the sand's moved, and these posts are right up as you walk down the middle of the beach. So that's one. I'll show Mick when he wants to come over sometime.
See you tomorrow.
Liz? You good? The only thing I want to add is working together. I like where we're going. I welcome Karen to our commission. We got one more position, that we need to fill. Maybe Tom's rethinking that as he watches us today and come back. So, but I like the direction that we're going and working together. I think when we're unified, we're going to be able to accomplish things. And attending the city council meetings is pretty important, you know, so hopefully more of us can start doing that. I mean, I make the effort, it's well worth it, you know, to be honest with you, just to hear what's going on, you know, within the city. But
When do they meet? That was the only thing not on this list. Yeah.
The regular meetings are the first and third Tuesday of the month at 7, and the second Tuesday of the month is the work session.
and I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. That's all I had to add. Plan?
So Jane Seaver, did she contact you? She was here at the last meeting.
She submitted paperwork.
Okay, all right, that's great. And then I had one more question. I can't remember it. Okay.
Karen?
Question. I know I'm new. I know there's probably a system in place for this, but what is the current reporting system for when just any member of the public, not necessarily us, is out using the parks and they see something that's damaged? Is there a number posted, or is there a textable phone number, something that they can just quickly text you, notify someone?
They typically call.
Or call.
Yeah, they typically call the DPW, or if they call City Hall, they get transferred to DPW, and then
How would I, as just a citizen out with my kids, know when I'm on the playground who to contact? This happened to me last week, and now that I'm on the Parks Commission, I think I have a better idea. But just a general member of the public, how would they know who to contact to report a broken swing or something broken
if it's a city park, you contact the city
swing? Is there a number posted or anything?
on the website, Facebook. I mean, we don't have numbers
Like at the parks, there's
at the
no
parks. We don't.
website listed or nothing.
So you're saying versus like having a sign saying any concerns about the park, call this number?
Yes,
Basically
that for me, as just a human being, would have been helpful, because I would immediately texted or emailed, hey, the tire swing is broken at Lighthouse Park, by the way. My kids discovered that last week, but just something quick and easy, or a Facebook page, or just something for quick reporting to someone.
Obviously, I think that's an area to be explored, or possibly, you know, some type of signage for concerns, or, I mean, no one's ever brought that up before, to be honest with you.
Is there a little community bulletin board anywhere in the parks to,
Somehow advertised.
yeah.
So I think going back just a little bit, and one of our 2022 goals, a lot of parks and recreation have their own pamphlet that they come out with, you know, outlining activities and what availability is. And I'm working with the city of Kentwood, where I came from, and their parks director is actually a good friend of mine, and we're kind of collaborating together, is that maybe that kind of information can be given out in the pamphlets. You know, the signs just kind of go away anyways, and they're hard to upkeep and hard to do. But if we create a pamphlet that has that kind of information about it, I think that would resolve that, to be honest with you. So I think that's something that I would like to work on for 2022, and I think that we can easily include that concern. Got anything else, Karen? Are you scared now? Do you still want to be on the commission?
I'm worried that you guys might be scared.
No. Did you know you're signed on for 10 years? Did they tell you that? Oh, yeah. You're here. Kelly?
I'm good.
Welcome. You all good? Awesome. All right, make a motion to adjourn?
I have several things I'd like to update you.
I'm sorry, yeah.
If you don't mind. First of all, I've been working with the Spicer Group to submit this grant application for a coastal zone management grant. And it would be this has been approved by City Council. It's a grant application for $14,000 with a $14,000 match to do the master plan upgrades at First Street Beach, Fifth Avenue Beach, and at Man-Made Lake. I brought that up in the past, but we're submitting a formal grant application for that, and it's due on Monday. And I sent it to Tim, but we're asking for the Parks Commission to submit a letter of recommendation. So just hopefully you're in agreement with that. I met on site with the executive director and the grant coordinator with the Manistee Community Foundation to discuss our disc golf grant. I think it went very well, and I'm very encouraged. They did suggest that the city has been successful in getting grants from them because we're very complete in the application. If you remember, I brought how much information we submitted, and they strongly encouraged us to submit future grant requests. And we should hear by the end of the year, so hopefully we hear something next week. We are also working on a federal EDA grant to upgrade portions of the Riverwalk. We are proposing to create some new handicap accessible locations within the DDA, and then also to replace the wood with composite decking, and also to add some stormwater runoff, like cleanup, kind of using rain gardens, those sort of thing. And then some other upgrades. It would be a $1.25 million project, and we are proposing to use a plaza and a new handicap accessible ramp at the college, on the college's property, that the DDA has pledged $250,000 to fund. We would use that as our matching money for that. It's highly competitive, but the $250,000 is going to get spent. So we're just trying to leverage that and get another $1 million of work out of that. I just thought of another one. Also, the North Riverwalk. I think I've explained this to you in the past that we applied for a DNR grant to do an upgrade on that. That's about a $450,000 rehab. We did not score high enough to get the grant in 2019, and we could not apply in 2020. We could not apply in 2021 because our Parks Master Plan wasn't updated. And we tried to do that on the city side, but we couldn't do it without the entire county plan being done. That is now done, so we're gonna make that application before April 1st this year. And I also had some brief conversations with the Community Foundation, and they suggested that would be a good application to help the local match on that. Kind of combining things, but they, all these things kind of collaborate and work together. I had asked the Parks Commission some time ago to help me come up with some new concepts on memorials. I think one of the concepts was, well, maybe we could start redecking sections of the Riverwalk with the memorial money. I did ask the Community Foundation if I asked Laura Heinzelman if she would take that to the board, and maybe the Community Foundation could do like a matching amount. So if a family in memoriam was able to provide $1,000, maybe that could be a direct one-to-one match with the foundation. And then we can, if we don't get the grant, we could focus primarily on the DDA district. If we do get the grant, then we could focus on going west of Spruce Street. But that's an effort to make that Riverwalk more presentable, more maintenance friendly, and upgrade. We are also, I've had a lot of meetings recently, but with the hotel that's proposed at First Street Beach, they are seeking they are submitting a brownfield plan so that some of their demolition costs and site cleanup costs can be recaptured through a typical brownfield plan. And so one of the things that we've been working on at the city staff level is, if we're going to do a brownfield plan and capture, how do we benefit from that? And so we've had some, I think it was just a work session discussion with city council. They were in favor of proceeding with that. What we're looking at doing is repaving the entire loop at First Street Beach, and then it would create some additional parking. What I'm trying to do is keep the pavement in the same footprint, but lay it out so that we get additional angled parking and parallel parking without having to add more pavement or substantially more. And so we've got that project right about 300,000 because the hotel has also pledged some money to add parking within that. So it's about a $385,000 project is what we're estimating right now. But if that gets approved as a brownfield plan, the city would have to fund the cash up front along with the developer contribution, but then it would get repaid through the brownfield capture, which essentially takes some of the new tax out of that hotel, reinvest it back in the park. We're having a terrible problem. It's been going on for well over a year with people stealing metal from the parks. The police captured a gentleman who had been stealing metal. We were able to identify through some of his records that some of the material was out of our parks. They're taking all the irrigation, anything that's metal, anything that's copper, every faucet, standpipe, backflow preventer, anything that's visible, they're saw cutting and selling it for scrap. This individual was arrested, put in jail, and the courts released him, and the theft has begun again. Don't know if it's the same person, but they have taken every piece of metal out of Reed's Park in the past couple weeks. And we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So, big struggle. I did mention that the wind fabric at the tennis courts is torn. So the guys removed sections of that. We'll have to reorder new stuff. We also had a very large section of the roof at Fifth Avenue Concessions that blew off last night. So we've contacted a roofer and we're looking to do an insurance claim on that and try to get it buttoned up before there's damage to the building. And then we've got the ice skating rink set up.
Yeah.
So now we're just gonna wait for the water to freeze.
You mentioned letter of recommendation. So any chance you could, like, you said it so fast I can't even remember who it was to yet. Maybe send us even a draft or at least a to from or something so we know what it's about.
It's the first page. This is the draft application, and I emailed it to Tim last night. I think it was
Maybe you can email it to us,
Who wants to write?
because then I know what I was asking for or recommending better.
Jeff, what do you need that on? Just any type of letterhead?
It doesn't have to be even on letterhead.
Just the way it is?
If you just print it and sign it.
Sign-
Yeah. Please send it to
Yep,
us, because
of-
then
of-
it's
of course.
a no-brainer then.
Yeah. It basically just says that you support the grant application and the
Hey.
project, so.
That's what we should be doing, is supporting that.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's
I'm
all
sure
I
your
had written
family
down.
would welcome you back home. You've worked a lot of hours out, away from home, so get home.
I wore my comfy clothes thinking it would be a fast meeting.
Yeah, Tom?
I just want to take a second. I wanted to thank all you guys, by the way. You guys are doing a hell of a job. It makes me proud to see all this fire. We're trying to put a voice back to a commission that didn't have a voice for a long time. Tim brought up last week, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, that I still want to be a part of the disc golf program that you guys are pushing forward for Lighthouse Park. Thank you for keeping up with that. Jeff, thank you. I know you and I don't see eye to eye sometimes, but I appreciate what you're doing with this. You're doing a hell of a job. Vicki, thank you, because you helped me physically do stuff out there. Mayor, thank you, City Council for helping through this golf program. What I wanted to tell you guys was, I know when we started that program, we said we were going to do it without taxpayer money. We couldn't get that consumer's grant, so Jeff took it upon himself to go for that Mayor Foundation and wrote that grant. But we had to get $3,000, I believe, seed money to do that. And that was kind of a sticking point for a second worth of random baskets, the red Smearna cart. They have been delivered, they're sitting at DPW right now, and they will be put in the spring. So I consider that perfect balance, a perfect wash between what the city has put in and what we got back from the sponsors. So thank you guys so much, each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Really good. All right, make a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second. Jeff, will you hit that stop button?
I'll second.